It's Friday, so it must mean time for another Hot Air Sports podcast with me, Macca, and my good mate Mahona. How are you, mate?
Yeah, mate, I'm great. I'm absolutely stunning today. The sun is shining and I've been locked in my house for 3 weeks. So, yeah, but I've got lots of sport on the telly, mate, lots of things going on in the world. So, and I'm seeing your smiling face.
Quite
You're the one
right,
person
quite
outside
right.
my house other than the people I see up the dairy.
Yeah,
So,
well,
great to see you.
I'm free as a bird down here in Greytown with certain restrictions.
Level 3 for you, level 4 for me.
Level 2 now. Level 2.
You're level 2.
Yeah,
2.5. I think you're at
well,
2.5.
level 2.5, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
Probably be a better description of it.
So I'm still ahead of you then. Yeah. Okay.
Quite right. Right, on to our big issue.
Hey, before we go on to our big issues, congratulations to both you and me. 50 podcasts in the can.
Yes, quite right. 50th episode last week. Who'd have believed it would have got past one?
Absolutely. We started this back in 2020 during the first lockdown, didn't we? And I started doing it with my phone. And since then, I've worked out how to use my computer. And we've had a bit of fun doing this, haven't we, mate? So here's the 50
minutes. Talking about it before podcasts were even invented.
We did. we used to have podcasts before mobile phones were invented, almost.
Quite right, quite right. Anyway, yes, well done to you, me good mate. 50 episodes. I'm pretty proud of that.
Me too, mate. Me too. Well done.
Quite right. Anyway, on to the big issues. Didn't get a chance to put it on Facebook this week, so I think most, certainly rugby fans can probably have a good idea about what we'll kick off with. Rugby doing more damage to its own image with the uncertainty around the red card for Geordie Barrett in last weekend's third Bledisloe test, for it to then be effectively annulled by no further action coming from the judiciary. Yes, it was a boot to the head, but when it came to the match officials making their decision, what about the mitigating factors? There were none of these talked about at the time, i.e. Barrett trying to balance himself in the air, Corabetti putting himself into a dangerous position, and in fact, contacted Barrett while he was still in the air.
That was the first thing I thought when I saw it. Yeah. I thought he tackled him in the air. It's a penalty to us. And then they're like, no, he's got his leg out. Oh, he kicked them on. But the thing is, people, this relates almost back to the Premier League, doesn't it? Where, is the hand in an unnatural position and all that. When you realise when people are running, they move their arms. When people are jumping, they move their arms and their legs.
Amazing.
So this is the thing. Their arms and their legs move. And if you're going to get in the way while they're jumping, you might get hit. I mean, bit of common sense here would have gone a long way, wouldn't it, Macca? One of the stupidest decisions I think I've ever seen. The worst thing was, if he had just made the decision on the spot and said, right, you're off, that was a piece of foul play, off you go. But they watched it 4 or 5 times on the big screen, slowed it down, stilled it, and everything like that, and then made the wrong decision. So, mate, rugby. What are you doing to yourself? Made it 14-15. Fortunately, it didn't really affect the game, did it? I mean, we actually scored points when we were down to 14, and as soon as we got back to 15, they scored points, so it didn't really matter at all. So, but yeah, just wrong for the game. It could have ruined the game.
Yeah, and of course, all the referees around the world and former referees have all come out and said, yes, red card.
Right decision, correct decision.
According to the law. You think back to other incidents of players jumping in the air and being taken out. I remember a Highlanders game. Might have been Highlanders Crusaders a couple of years back, and the Highlanders player actually got concussed. He was in the wrong because he ran in to take the player in the air and got a knee to the head. And was sent off.
Yeah, yellow card. Was he yellow card?
No, he was sent off because the Crusaders player came down awkwardly.
That's right.
And he was red carded after he regained consciousness.
Yeah. So that's great. I love that. I love that in football as well, when there's two guys and they collide and they're rolling around, and both of them rolling around in a screaming heap. One of them knows they've hurt the other one. Yeah. They know they've hurt the other one, but they're just rolling around. Then the referee just stands there above them and waits for them to get their feet. They get up. Then the referee gives them the card. Look, mate, if you're going to, I didn't think you were allowed to touch someone when they're in the air. Isn't that the rule? So surely that rule would overrule Well, I suppose it doesn't. I suppose the dangerous rule overrules the rule of safety. I don't know. I mean,
well, and in every sport that involves a referee, whether it be football, rugby union, rugby league, it's the first offence is the one that's penalised, unless you retaliate.
So the first offence was him tackling him in the air.
Yeah.
Because he didn't get kicked in the head straight away, did he?
No, quite right. And now I see some administrator at World Rugby sitting behind a desk that's probably never played the game before wants to outlaw jumping.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Catch the high ball.
Yeah, just like outlaw heading in football. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just too dangerous.
No, you can't jump to catch the ball.
You can't jump to catch the ball.
Come on.
Okay, and you can't run with the ball either. Let's just make this walking.
What about lineouts then?
The big guys in the middle, they're allowed little step ladders. And
do they just turn to, like in football, where you can just throw it to your teammate?
Yeah, farcical, mate. Farcical. I mean,
just leave the game alone, for God's sakes.
Yeah. No, the rules of rugby are an arse, mate. They're an absolute arse. If that was by the law a correct decision, which, by the way, it can't be because he wasn't suspended for it. So all those referees that came out and said it was. But if it was by the law the correct decision, the law's wrong. The law's an arse. Yeah. Change it.
Well, we've seen other laws, haven't we, in rugby that are just farcical.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now, along with the no jumping to catch a high ball, apparently they want to make it all tackling below the sternum.
Because that's a natural level. Yeah. I saw you were just above his sternum.
When you have just poked your head up out of a scrum or a ruck, and there's a 125 kilogram prop running at you, who's leaning forward, so he's slightly down, and that split second of an instant, you have to go, right, now, where's their sternum? I can only get up under there.
And the problem with all this is it's all down to interpretation again. You know, it's all just, well, you were slightly too high, so I'm going to ruin the game. And the funniest rule, or perhaps the most annoying rule in rugby, I completely understand when people are killing the ball on the ground, when they're rolling, when they tackle the guy and then they kill the ball. I completely get that. Penalise the guy for killing the ball. But when there's a tackler and then like 50 guys pile on top of him and he's trying to roll away, but he can't because it's physically impossible, why does the referee every single time want to penalise that guy? Why can't they say, well, he was trying to get out of the way. I'm going to use a little bit of common sense here and say, we'll have a scrum to the attack. Instead they go, no, penalty, you didn't roll away. Well, how can he roll away? He can't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do disagree with you on that one, I'm afraid.
Okay, why?
Well, the whole point of it is they want quick ball out of the ruck. I get that. And tacklers are not supposed to be, and this is the ridiculous part of it, tacklers cannot put themselves into a position where they're not able to get away from the ball quickly.
Okay, so how do you stop a 120
I know.
kg guy?
I agree with that part, but I disagree with the part where just stop it and scrum.
I don't think they need to stop it.
People will do it on purpose and say, "Oh, I couldn't get out."
But that's when it's up to the referee to actually have some common sense. I think maybe I've found the flaw in my argument.
That's the problem. Asking a referee to apply common sense. Come on, Aaron.
Okay, sorry, I'm wrong. No, it does frustrate.
Referees, umpires, officials of any sport will only go by the black and white rules.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Written on a bit of paper. There's no grey area. They can't use common sense. You of anybody should be able to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay. Bit of common sense is needed.
Yeah. Now, speaking of common sense, here we go.
Yeah.
Here's another one. We've had ODI and T20 cricket.
Yep.
Even Cricket Max. Who can forget Cricket Max?
Ooh, 4 stumps.
Yep. Netball's had fast 5s.
Oh, yep.
Basketball has 3 versus 3. Leagues flirted with 9s, and what was the other one they had? Did they have
10s?
10s.
And volleyball has the beach volleyball, doesn't it?
Yep.
And stuff.
Yep.
Yep,
Rugby
you got that?
sevens has been around a long time.
Yep.
Now we're being offered rugby 12s.
Nice. So tell me about rugby 12s, Macca.
An English concept, and this is backed by none other than former All Blacks coach Steve Hansen.
Yeah, well, what you got to do is give it a try. If you don't give it a try, you don't know whether anyone.
Move on.
That's right. Give it a go, Macca. Give it a go. Stop being so bloody negative, mate.
Will be played like the IPL, a short tournament to be played over 3 consecutive weeks, and there'll be 6 forwards and 6 backs with 30-minute matches. Isn't there enough rugby going on in the world at the moment without yet another competition?
It's going to be played like cricket, Max. So they're going to be playing games every day. So these are the guys.
Second, third day, I suppose.
This is also from the players that say there's not enough room for them to rest. There's too many things on the calendar.
Heard any comments from players as yet?
Okay.
And even New Zealand Rugby has come out and said, I don't think having another tournament on the calendar is going to help.
Do we know how much Steve Hansen is getting paid? Oh, dude. Look,
obviously, the Bulldogs aren't paying him enough.
Why do we have to keep messing with stuff that, well, it is broken a little bit, rugby, but they just need to fix the original product.
But it's going to attract a younger audience, Aaron.
Oh, yay. No, it's 30 minutes is way too long, mate. Have they not heard of the TikTok generation? 2-minute halves. 2-minute halves. We're going to have 3 players aside, and it's the first best creative interpretive dance at the ruck. Come on. I'm sorry. If the game isn't attracting a young enough audience, then look, you have to do something at a younger age to attract them, not make your elite athletes play hybrid versions of the original game. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, the kids, the Ripper Rugby, that was a great thing for the kids.
Yeah.
No tackling before they're 12. All of a sudden, kids that were a bit scared of tackling got the basic concepts of passing and running and all those sorts of things through Ripper Rugby. So develop that through the youngsters so they get into the game and then they can become proper rugby fans or sporting fans instead of, this will appeal to the kids. We'll have a rock and roll concert at halftime. Sorry, not rock and roll, it'll be drum and bass, won't it?
Yeah.
It's like, we've got a laser show during the game. What exactly are you trying to attract them to the game for? Are they there for the rugby?
If a player runs into a laser, well, apart from losing their right leg, they have to give the ball to the opposition.
Now that's something I reckon I would watch. I mean, if there were, so maybe there's just a bit more jeopardy. If they think back to Roman times, maybe we could have a Colosseum, add a couple of lions in there.
Yeah.
No, look, we are speaking very facetiously, but that is about as ridiculous as I think this proposal is, to be fair. It's like the 100 in cricket.
Exactly.
How long will it last? For me, I'd say a season or 2 maybe, and that'll be it. So, I would hope that Steve Hansen, after a couple of seasons, we flushed it, don't even move on. It didn't work. Did it, mate? Yeah. So, no good. I'm not into that, mate. I'm not into that. Now, on a similar note, FIFA's chief of global football development, former Arsenal boss, and aren't they going well? Arsene Wenger has proposed having a World Cup every 2 years. What is going on? I think everyone's just been locked away at home and they're just going, what else can we do to improve the sport?
Yeah.
Every 2 years, and a number of both players, administrators have come out against it. UEFA president Alexander Seferin says more is not always better. Really? Oh, God, I think we've been saying that we're a broken record on that one.
Yeah.
We think the jewel of the World Cup is valued precisely because of its rarity, while Barcelona and Spain midfielder Sergio Busquets was a little bit more forward in his response, saying players will explode. Well, maybe the lasers on the field. Players will explode. The players have little say on that decision. We just see the calendars become busier and busier. They do not care about the players. They want more Euros, more World Cups, more league games, more games for every competition. Pretty similar to the same stuff we were just talking about, mate.
We've been harping on about this for years with the, international friendlies. You've now got the UEFA Nations League. You've got the
Conference League now.
Qualifiers going on at the moment. They're cramming 3 games into an international break, whereas it used to be just 2.
The Club World Cup as
Club
well.
World Cup. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Look, once every 4 years is perfect, mate. It creates that anticipation between World Cups. Every 2 years, you get the European Championships in between because you got the 4 year cycle. So, and it's sort of like the Olympics and the Commonwealth. Why is 4 years is not too long? That's what I used to love the old rugby tours, taking it back to rugby again, because that's what we always do. Love the old rugby tours precisely because South Africa, Australia, England, they wouldn't come here every year. They'd be here every 4, 5, 6 years. So they weren't something that we were being constantly deluged with where we just became sick of it. If we have it every 2 years, mate, when are the players going to rest? I've got no idea. Like you said, they're going to explode. I would suggest that may be true. I mean, so, they're already getting...
The one thing that still does go on a rare basis is Lions tours. People love Lions tours because they're not happening every bloody second year. It's 12 years in between Lions tours to New Zealand. Same with Australia, and South Africa's obviously just had theirs. So they won't see them again for another 12 years. But people do love traditions of the game, but they don't get the opportunity to love the traditions, and administrators think they need to change everything, because they think more people will get interested. Well, that's not the case. If you make these things, as Sepperen said, more is always not better. It's not always better. The jewel of the World Cup is the fact that it is every 4 years and people look forward to it. It used to be like that for me with the Olympics. I'm not as big an Olympic fan as I used to. I used to couldn't wait for the Olympics and would have loved it every year, but then I probably would have got less interested a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And as you say, it's like we play South Africa every year. Before we stopped playing them during the apartheid years, that was always the tour that everybody looked forward to, was
absolutely
All Blacks versus South Africa. And then suddenly
we're playing them every year.
Now we're playing them every year.
And it's just not as special. It used to be a real special thing. And how are you making it more special if there's a World Cup winner every 2 years? And I also think it's also a cycle for players, 4 years, it refreshes the team. It gives the other teams a chance. I mean, if France had rolled on to the next World Cup in 2 years, they would have won that World Cup too, So I think 4 years is a great cycle. It allows everything to refresh. It just put it to bed, Arsene. And another thing, Arsene Wenger leading this. I mean, he was Arsenal. He used to go on and on and on about how there was not enough time for the players to get fit again. There was just too much football. And now he's on the FIFA committee or whatever, and he's getting paid.
Chief of Global Football Development.
And now all of a sudden he's keen on more football. It just seems like a little bit, I just don't think he's being genuine there, mate, really.
Anyway, a change of tack. Here's a couple of big questions for you, actually, mate.
Okay, mate.
Have the Warriors made a mistake with the long-term signings of props Matt Lodge and Kane Evans? The pair were both involved in unsavoury moments in last week's drubbing by the Gold Coast, and despite a Twitter apology from Lodge, many commentators have wondered whether it's a good move by the Warriors to keep them. And now on the back page the other night, they talked at great length, especially about Matt Lodge, and his past, and has he been given enough chances or too many chances? And now we see Brian McLennan has come out during the week, so talking about Kane Evans in the same mold. So you're the league expert and the big Warriors fan. What's your thoughts?
Kane Evans, I'd get rid of him, mate. I would have got rid of him after that first ridiculous attack when we were playing the Sharks, and he tried to bash a couple of guys. He got sent off. He got sent off twice for stupid, dumb things. I would have been happy at that stage for Kane Evans to never play for the Warriors again, and I said so on my social media. I just think the guy's a nutcase. And what he did there again, he showed that he's not right in the head. He's not thinking about his teammates. He's just, and I liked what Brian McLennan said as well. He's been suspended. He's been chucked off the field twice you wouldn't have bruised a grape with either of those punches either. I mean, at least bloody go out there and if you're going to be a fighter, go and fight, don't be anyway. I'd get rid of Kane Evans. I think he's a meat axe, and I don't even think he's that good a player. Matt Lodge is a completely different thing for me. He could be the foundation of what the Warriors need a prop like him, but they need the guy in the right headspace. If you've watched the games that he's played in the last few games, yes, he's been doing some meat stuff, but he hasn't hit anyone. And yeah, there was a blue the other day, but it was caused by a lot of stuff off the ball. There was a lot of niggly shit going on. And I didn't blame Matt Lodge for what went on. I thought he was at the end of his tether. I mean, yeah, okay, in the end, they were probably all wrong. All the Warriors got it all, you're fighting, getting that many players, you can't say that that's an intelligent thing to do. But for me, Matt Lodge offers a lot more on the field than Kane Evans does. And him and Adam Fanua-Blake should be the cornerstone of our forward pack for the next 3 or 4 years. I think Matt Lodge has got something in him. I would keep him. Kane Evans, yeah, kick him to Super League or wherever, mate. I would be happy to never see him in a Warriors jersey again. The guy's, I mean, after he got sent off twice in that game against the Sharks, I watched him closely at the end of the game, and he was high-fiving his mates and all that sort of thing. I thought, if I was the coach up there in the box, and I'd just seen him put his team under that much thing, and then afterwards he's high-five, I would just say, nah, you're not playing anymore. You don't have the mental capacity, and you're just acting like a dick. So, no. Matt Lodge, completely different, though, for me.
Right.
Just my opinion.
Excellent. No, value your opinion, especially when it comes to rugby league.
Thanks, buddy.
And I'll value your opinion on this next one, too. On the eve of finals footy in the NRL, is Tom Trbojevic the best player in the competition this year? 25 tries, and I think it was 18 games for the Manly fullback. And can he lead the Sea Eagles to premiership glory this year, which is being held, of course, outside of Sydney for the first time?
He can. He is the best player this year. I mean, he'd be close to the best player I've seen playing rugby league since, I mean, especially as a fullback, probably since Billy Slater. He's a different fullback to Billy Slater. He's got more power. He's more rangy. But just the fact that every single run the man takes, he just seems to run with intent. There's players in rugby league, and after the game, his hair's all in a mess, and he just looks like he's given 200%, And the guy, Jesus, some of the tries he scores, how does he bounce out of some of those tackles? He must be so strong. And he's got so many.
He scored a try last weekend. He beat
9 tackles.
He beat every player on the team 4 times.
It was ridiculous. I mean, he's just doing stuff on the league field. He's making it look like men with boys, and these guys aren't boys. And he's the best player in the game. Can he lead them to a premiership? Well, we'll probably find out in a few hours, mate, because they've got the Storm to start with. And the Storm ain't going to be a pushover. A couple of weeks back, they played Manly and they kept them quiet. So it's going to be super, super interesting tonight. I'm very interested to see if they can keep them quiet tonight because, yeah, man, semi-final football, bring it on, bring it on.
Yes, we'll talk about that a wee bit more when we come to our
But
league.
what a player. You did say, what do you make of him, Macca? I mean, obviously you don't watch a lot of rugby league, but you did catch a few highlights of him the other day. What did you make of him?
He just absolutely freakish. Just, as I say, that try he scored, it looked like he'd run up, beat a player, and then turn around and go back and beat him again. And at one stage, he had 3 players hanging on to him, and he still managed to wriggle out of it. It was like watching Stacey Jones in his prime.
Yeah.
Just nobody could tackle him. And, yeah, just an amazing, amazing player.
Yeah, he is. He is a great player, mate.
Is it a twin brother?
No, they're not twins. Yeah, no, yeah, but he's just he plays at lock as well, or second row. So completely different player to him. Yeah, and they've got a younger brother as well, apparently, who's apparently better than both of them. So we will see the Trbojevic brothers.
Yes,
more to come from them. More to come from them. But I would say he's probably a lay down Mazir for the Dally M, I'd say.
Yeah, that's saying something too, given the quality of some of the other players around the league at the moment. You look at Nathan Cleary, James Tedesco, some really good players in that competition. And it's probably 2 or 3 out of the Melbourne Storm that you
absolutely
can put in that argument as well.
Yeah.
But no, Tommy Turbo, he's a
what a player,
and we'll talk a bit more about him when we come to my best bet this week.
The Australian rugby team could do with him, couldn't they?
They certainly could.
Should we go to football, mate? Should we talk a bit of football?
Let's go to football.
Okay, well, what did you make of the international break? England 2 wins and a draw. They narrowly missed out on that third win by a header in the last minute. I didn't feel sorry for them at all because Gareth Southgate decided not to throw on any substitutes. Once again. What the hell? And Scotland, 2 wins and a loss. Most significantly, though, no serious injuries to any Liverpool players. Although the Naby Keita thing, he was caught in Guinea amongst a revolution or something. So
military coup in Guinea.
That's crazy.
We'll have to hire a private plane to get him out. So
maybe the craziest story of the whole international break was the Brazil-Argentina game, which was called off after 5 minutes after the Argentinian officials
quite right.
Ran onto the field.
Well, that was an interesting situation, given that the 2 international bodies from Brazil and Argentina want to actually stop Premier League players who didn't go from playing this weekend.
That's right. They are going to stop them.
The game that they were supposed to be there for got called off.
That's right.
So how can you invoke I'll read it out. Liverpool, Man City, Everton, Leeds, Aston Villa and Wolves could lose players this weekend after Brazil and Argentina's controlling bodies have asked FIFA to invoke a 5-day rule after clubs stopped international players in red zone countries leaving the UK to play for their countries. But as you say, the irony of it was that game got called off 6 minutes in because the players on the field who hadn't quarantined after arriving from the UK.
And then there's someone like Richarlison, who, because Everton made him available for the Olympics, they've given him a pass and said, "Oh no, we don't need to ban him."
Yeah,
so he can play. So it's sort of like, well, we want this guy banned and this guy banned, but he's okay. That guy banned. It's like, well, hang on, you're picking and choosing who you ban, and hasn't this been happening for bloody years anyway? I mean, the amount of times New Zealand players haven't been allowed back because, I mean, I know we're just New Zealand. I know we're just New Zealand, so we probably don't have the punching power of Brazil, but it sounds like every international side has the option of saying, well, if you can't play, we're going to ban you, or you can't play for your club. I think the difference is obviously if the New Zealand football team said, okay, Chris Woods, you can't play for Burnley, he'd probably say, well, stuff you, I'm not going to play for New Zealand ever again then. I think that's the major difference, isn't it? But I know that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous considering they all got called off. And it looks like Liverpool will be without Firmino, Fabinho and Alisson for the game against Leeds. What did you make of the England game, though, mate? I am interested to find out what you thought of the England game, the Polish game. Harry Kane, of course, fantastic strike from about 30 metres out to start with. It
was a great strike. You don't often see him scoring goals from that distance.
No. He picked it up in midfield, made a bit of break. No one came towards him, so he thought, I'm going to have a pop here. And the way that the ball sort of just popped over that right-hand shoulder of the defender who was trying to block it and then just swerved into the corner. I thought everyone was a little bit harsh on Chesney, who they said perhaps should have saved. I thought it was just a ripper of a shot. And then England sort of given it away. I heard Southgate afterwards at the end of the game say, we were in control, and that's the reason I didn't make any subs. I'm just like, well, you weren't in control because they scored a goal. I mean, I don't know, mate. What's your take on Southgate? I'm just so frustrated.
I read in the Daily Mail the other day that he's put off contract talks until the end of the qualifying campaign. But if he carries on doing shit like this, there's no way that the FA will want him back. I mean,
but the press love him. Hey,
no, they do.
They just think he's great.
The third game in a week.
Yep.
And you decide, no, they can all stay on for 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not only are club bosses going to be pissed off with them for playing, for playing key players for a full game.
Yep.
That have got to then get on a plane from Poland back to the UK and prepare for a game this weekend. I mean, the players aren't exactly going to be wrapped with them either.
No, and playing Trent at right midfield. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, and that didn't work. He's got all sorts of ideas, isn't he? I just don't think he's got a clue, to be fair, mate. I just think I just can't see England choosing a manager that will ever. I mean, I just can't see them, they need a proper football manager. They need someone with tactics. I just don't rate Southgate. And that's why whenever anyone scores against them, I'm going to be cheering. So, and also the fact, like, no Jordan Henderson in midfield. I think he's better than both of those guys in midfield. So he seems to not want to pick Liverpool players. So Yeah, Gareth Southgate,
That's right by me.
You're reaping what you're sowing, mate. You're reaping what you're sowing. How about Chelsea, mate? Of course, there was that Liverpool game, Liverpool-Chelsea, which drew 1-1. And Chelsea have now been fined £25,000 by the FA for failing to keep their players under control during that game at Anfield. They have had a history of this, apparently. Lots of suspended sentences, etc. They've decided against not imposing a points deduction on them for the way that they went out of control. What are your thoughts on that? £25,000. That's about what, a day's work for one of their players.
Oh, that's Roman Abramovich has that in his pocket.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic, really.
Yeah.
I thought the action, certainly around the time the penalty was taken, and then again at halftime, I thought it was disgraceful. And I know the referee booked Rudiger first, and then Mendy for kicking the ball away from Jordan Henderson. Rudiger just kept going on and on and on after he was booked. Referees have really got to just stamp down on this. I partially blame the referee for not taking further action. If Rudiger kept on going at him as he did, show him another yellow card and send him off. Otherwise, there's no incentive for players to not have a go at the referee. They can take a booking. I
tend to agree with you, mate, but I just think the referees aren't being backed by the people at the top, are they? Because, I mean, they got surrounded for about the 10th time. Chelsea have done it, and they get a $25,000 fine. Well, what's going to stop the players doing it then? Because, $25,000, that's nothing to us. We'll get another fine. We'll just if the FA actually gave a damn about the referee and the way that they are being treated, they would say, right, well, we're going to deduct a couple of points from you or whatever, and then I'm sure their coach would say, well, don't you ever bloody do that again, because that would be a proper punishment. But if you keep handing out these sort of
that's the thing, the club will pay the fine.
punishments.
There'll be nothing coming out of the pockets of the players and the manager. So
no,
as you say,
why
not? Why stop it?
Yeah, well, the transfer market has it's closed, obviously, but there's still rumours around, mate. And Liverpool apparently lead the race to sign English starlet Jude Bellingham from
Borussia
Dortmund, isn't he? He was actually signed as a 17-year-old from Birmingham, I believe.
Correct.
Manager Jurgen Klopp has apparently put the 18-year-old on the top of his priority list for next summer transfer window, and secret agent Jordan Henderson in the England squad has also become best pals with him, I noticed.
Yep.
Would you like to see him in a Liverpool jersey?
I would love to see Bellingham in a Liverpool uniform. I think he is or could be the heir apparent to Jordan Henderson. They're both very similar types of players. They're both, 6 foot plus, both very good with the ball at their feet. And Bellingham just seems to have an absolute engine inside him. The games I've seen him play, he's still going as strong at the end of the game as he was at the beginning of the game. And for an 18-year-old, I mean, we've already got an 18-year-old in our side in Harvey Elliott, and I think they would be hugely complementary to each other.
Absolutely. And, so young. I mean, 18 years old. How is he that good? I mean, what do they sell Sancho for? 75 million?
Something like that. Yeah.
So Haaland and him next year for Bellingham, that'd be quite handy, wouldn't it? No, mate, he's a powerhouse. He's also liked a couple of tweets of Liverpool players lately, and he's also said his favourite player ever was Steven Gerrard. So, mate, get in there, Jordan. Do a little bit of secret agent stuff, and
get Jurgen to get Stevie Gerrard on the phone to
absolutely Jude Bellingham. I mean, what a player! No, I completely agree. The guy's got everything. He's a box-to-box midfielder. He can just do it all. Yeah. And my main concern would be, is he playing too much football as a young guy, I suppose? I mean, will he burn out? But that's for the future. That's for the future. Okay, the A-League. The A-League is prepared for the possibility of delaying the start of the upcoming season amid New South Wales and Victoria's ongoing coronavirus outbreaks. October 30th has been earmarked for the A-League season opener, with the W League to kick off 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
But with 8 of the 12 A-League clubs based in Victoria and New South Wales a desire to play the games in front of crowds, the Australian Professional League is set to make a call this month on whether to push that back until after November's international break. What do you make on the goings in the A-League, mate? What's
I
going to happen this year?
I think pushing it back is the right decision. Especially, I mean, we're not really going to see any change in COVID restrictions until both countries have reached a certain percent of vaccinated people. And I mean, they're talking around the 70 to 80% mark. They want New Zealanders vaccinated, and I think it's probably the same in Australia.
Yep.
We're still seeing thousands of cases a day in New South Wales.
Yep.
Yet they're actually starting to open up due to the fact that their vaccination levels are going up pretty quickly, which is astounding to me.
Yep.
You know, I go back to the back page on Tuesday night's show. They showed a crowd at college football in America. 67,000 people crammed into a football stadium, and now we're playing games in front of empty crowds again. And a year ago it was switched.
I know.
And the Americans are saying, how do they do it? And now where they're looking at us with empty crowds going, why do they do it?
Well, I think the answer is we care a little bit more about our people. That's the thing.
Yeah, and obviously both countries are operating on different strategies. I mean, New Zealand is fully into the elimination strategy, yet Australia seems to have dropped that. And,
well, they have, because Scotty Morrison's basically laughed at our attempts to eliminate, hasn't he? And considering we got the Delta from them, I think that was a bit of a. Anyway, and enough of COVID.
Yeah.
It seeps into everything, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, mate. It does. So yes, I think you'll find that the A-League will be pushed back.
Late October.
Be late November. I think we'll see that kick off. And obviously, the later it does start, the more chance we will get of hopefully seeing the Wellington Phoenix play
back here
in the capital. Back here. So.
Please give us some live sport back here. Some live professional sport. Wouldn't that be nice? The last big live professional sport we had here was the All Blacks, of course. And
it was.
It just seems like yesterday, but it just seems so far away now, doesn't it, when we could all get together and go out there and play. The All Blacks play Argentina this Sunday on the Gold Coast after completing their sweep of the Wallabies last weekend. And memories of last year's loss to the Pumas will still be fresh with the All Blacks in mind. Of course, no Aaron Smith. I heard Sam Whitelock is racing back, but he will not be available, will he? Because he'll be in.
No, he's got to do 2 weeks quarantine.
Yep. So
quarantine due to end on the same day that the first test against the Springboks is meant to be played. So we're not going to see him until the second test against the Springboks.
And Richie Mwanga will not be available either for the same reasons. And I hope Geordie Barrett has practiced his goal kicking, because some of those kicks were bloody just awful, weren't they?
Goal kicking for the whole game.
Yeah.
Bowden Barrett wasn't that great. Noah Lolosio for Australia was terrible. I think you could have kicked a couple of those.
That one right in front was just, what the hell happened there?
And even Damien McKenzie, who's normally reliable, he missed a couple as well.
I was like, give it to Will Jordan. He can do anything.
Well, I was actually surprised. No, I was going to say something really stupid then.
Go on.
I was surprised that they didn't give the kicking to Geordie Barrett, but of course he wasn't on the field.
He did kicking of the sort.
He did.
Didn't get points for it, unfortunately.
No. Looks like we are going to see some rugby on our shores next weekend with the NPC, Parapama Cup and Heartland Rugby due to get underway.
Not up here, though.
New Zealand Rugby are looking at moving Auckland's 3 provinces until the region is out of level 4 lockdown. A revised draw, I think, will be out sometime next week. But counties, Auckland and North Harbour, they may be playing their home games at different venues.
Even our rugby teams don't want to stay in Auckland, mate. Even our sporting, everyone's leaving. No one wants to. It's just a dirty old town.
Only
dirty old. It'd be good to see some live sport on again, though, wouldn't it, mate?
Yes, quite right. But anyway, last week we selected the backs.
Oh, we did.
This time, let's have a look at the forwards.
Okay.
All Pro, All Black 15. And
now, if you're looking for the backs, that we picked last week, they're on our Facebook page, the Hot Air Sports Podcast.
Yes,
posted them there. Now, so we're on
just to remind people, we've gone for the All Pro team because it was just too hard to compare the likes of Colin Meads against Brodie Retallick,
Exactly.
and Sam Whitelock and Bruce Robertson, against a Conrad Smith.
Exactly. So we've done it from 1995 onwards. Of course, there will be a few crossover players, that probably played in both eras. But what we're doing, we're basically taking the player at their peak and choosing who we think was the best player at their peak. So we're going to start with our number 8. And our number 8 nominations were Zinzan Brooke, Tane Randall, Rodney Soialo, and Kieran Reid. And who have we gone for, Macca?
We've gone for the mighty Zinzan Brooke.
Yes, we have.
Now, we chose him over the likes of Kieran Reid. I mean, yes, Reid did play 120-odd tests for the All Blacks. Very rarely had a bad game. But just that, and I'll use the cooking terminology here from Chef Simon Gold. He talks about 5% magic in a dish. Zinzan Brooke provided that 5% magic. I mean, who can forget those 2 drop goals? One against England in the World Cup quarterfinal in '95, and the other one against South Africa in a very tight test. The year later in South Africa when we won our first series in the Republic. Just those moments, Zinny's ability to read a game and just provide that piece of inspiration that would, set off a backline move, and he would even enjoy a run in the backs every now and then as well.
Exactly. I think the thing with Zinzan Brooke, that anyone that knows him, played with him, has talked to him, says about Zinzan Brooke is that he was perhaps the most competitive person in the world. He would bet on anything, 2 flyers going up a wall. He'd say, "Come on, let's go," and anything was a competition. And I think all the great people, all the great competitors have that. He just never gave up, that he was a 100% competitor, and he had physicality, he had all those sorts of things. He had athleticism, but like you say, he had that 5% magic and just that never give up attitude. And I think that's the reason we chose him over Kieran Reid, even though Kieran Reid, of course, absolutely spectacular, very athletic, probably sacrificed himself for the team, didn't he? More than sort of show off sort of player, which a lot of people would say Zinzan was. But Zinzan Brooke is our number 8 in our pro team. Let's go to the open side flanker.
Yes.
We had nominations were Josh Cromfeld, Richie McCaw, Sam Cane, Marty Holler, and Paul Henderson. Those last 2 I just added just for a little bit of effect there. So Josh Cromfeld, Richie McCaw, and Sam Cane were our open side flankers. Probably only one choice here, really, though, isn't there, mate?
Yep, the skipper.
Yeah.
Can't really go past him, really.
What else can you say? If you got awesome in your name, you are awesome, aren't you? So
148 tests.
Yep.
Which was the then world record, since been broken by Welsh lock Alan Wynne-Jones. But Richie McCawsome. Probably, I'm just going to stop short of saying the greatest player to ever don an All Black jersey.
Yeah, I'm glad you stopped.
He's very, very close.
Yeah.
Just wonderful all-round skills. His first couple of years as captain, he was a bit quiet, but once he got into the stride of things, he was a brilliant captain. And who can forget his tackle on that South African fan that ran off the field and attacked
Peter Van Rensveld, or whatever his name was.
whatever his name was. And saved the Irish referee from being flattened by a big fat
Absolutely. And when we were talking through these options, of course, Richie McCaw well out in front. Josh Cromfeld was fantastic for what he did as well. Sam Cane, we were talking about him and we were saying, man, he could be like Richie McCaw. But the thing with Sam Cane, of course, he doesn't stay on the field. Richie McCaw never missed a test, did he? I mean, well, it seemed like he never missed a test.
Seemed like
and in 2011, played through just about the whole tournament with a broken foot. No one knew about it until afterwards. Thank God. That would have sent my heart palpitations even racing even higher. Probably wouldn't be here to do the Hot Air Sports podcast. The guy was just, he just never got injured, did he? I mean, they could hit him with a Mack truck and he'd still be up at the next ruck. He was first man there too, So
and Richie the other McCaw, thing about Richie is the players that he kept out of the All Blacks. Marty Holler would have been an international flanker in any other country in the world had it not been for Richie McCaw. You could say the same for the likes of Dwayne Monkley when Michael Jones was around.
Absolutely.
There have been plenty of players that would have walked into international sides anywhere else in the world,
Absolutely.
but were just kept out by absolute superstars.
Yep. So he's our captain, Richie McCaw, at open side flanker. So let's go to blind side flanker. We've got nominations, Michael Jones, because he played the last 2 or 3 years of his career in the professional era at blind side flanker. Jerry Collins, Reuben Thorne, Jerome Kino, and Liam Messam. I've added that last one as well.
That was a good addition.
Thank you.
Whilst he didn't play a lot of games for the All Blacks, he certainly gave 110% every time he wore the black jersey.
I love Liam Messam.
And was very, very unlucky not to get picked for that 2011 Rugby World Cup side.
Absolutely, he was. He actually did a lot of the tours around beforehand as well. He was very unlucky, but when you look at the team we had back then, wow.
Yep. And he was kept out of the side by the guy that we've picked as our blindside flanker, and that is Jerome Kino.
That's right.
I just think his all-round physicality, his ability to run with the ball as well. Yes, Michael Jones was a great flanker, but I think we saw his best days as an open side flanker before those horrific knee injuries that he experienced. Obviously, one against Argentina and one against Fiji. It just slowed him down. He was still a very good player in his twilight years, Michael Jones. But I just think the sheer sustainability, I think, is probably a good word for Jerome Kino. But like Richie McCaw, very rarely got injured. And as we've just seen, he hasn't played for the All Blacks for 4 years or 5 years.
He's still playing.
He's still playing and just won the French title this year with Toulouse. So good longevity.
Yeah, shows you how good he is. He can win a title with Toulouse. You get that? There you go.
You're very good. See what you did there.
I mean, for me, Jerome Kino, just for his work in the 2011 World Cup alone, I think. I mean, he was the player of the tournament in that 2011 World Cup. His sheer physicality in that tournament was phenomenal, man. Anyone sort of just skirting around the blind side of the All Black scrum was just crushed by him. And that 2011 final, I don't think we would have won it without him. So, Jerome Kino is our number 6. So of course, Jerry Collins.
In that semi-final, who can forget him picking up Digby Ioane and pulling him back over the line?
That's right.
Before he managed to get the ball down.
That's right.
Unbelievable streak.
Yeah. He just a powerhouse, and a beautiful man as well. So softly spoken. Met him a couple of times on the Blues promotions, and he was always just so humble and just so softly spoken. He's a bit like Michael Jones, You'd never, if you met him away from the thing, you'd think, oh, this is such a lovely man. He's churchgoer, really lovely. And then you get him on a rugby field, and he just destroys people. So, so Jerome Kino is our number 6. The locks, this was difficult. So many good locks to pick.
Before we get on to the locks, I think we should make mention of
Jerry Collins,
the late great Jerry Collins.
Yeah, we should. Sorry,
he was Jerome Kino before Jerome Kino was around. He was just super strength, super ability, great running with the ball. Could play number 8 as well as number 6. I think he actually started out as a number 7 when he first started playing rugby.
Yeah.
And also the other one we had for blindside playing was Reuben Thorne.
Yes.
Longevity, very rarely did anything wrong on a rugby field. He did his job. He did it well. And Mr. Reliability, I think, is probably the word you could say for Reuben Thorne. But, Jerome Kino. Now, the locks. This was bloody difficult.
It was,
So what we've done is we've decided to choose
one each. That's basically what we had to do.
So we've got 6 nominees: Ian Jones, Robin Brooke, Chris Jack, Ali Williams, Brodie Retallick, and Sam Whitelock.
And Norm Maxwell.
Big Norm.
Big Norm. Yep. I'm just adding the odd name in here for you, mate.
Quite right. So, I mean, trying to pick 2 locks out of that is... Okay,
the first one we went for was probably a little bit of recency bias, but I did say to you when we were talking about it that he's perhaps the closest thing that I've seen to a perfect rugby player. Not the way he looks, but the way he plays. Brodie Retallick, what an absolute, just a beast of a man. And and he just seems to have no backward in him. It's just, even when, the chips are down, the man's going forward. He's just an absolute colossus, a beast, safe in the line out, pushes like a truck in the scrums.
Great sidestep too.
Can sidestep. He's all over the field. He's so mobile. Just love me some Brodie Retallick. So for me, I think he's the best lock of the professional era that the All Blacks have had. Brodie Retallick.
To his model looks. I was actually thinking he looks like he's just come straight out of a Gary Larson cartoon.
It does look a little bit like that, and the fact that he wears glasses too when he's not playing, he looks like the.
So yes, trying to pick between the other five proved very difficult. Ian Jones, Robin Brooke, both quite different types of locks.
Very different.
Obviously, your tall, skinny, middle of the line-out man to get all the line-out ball. Robin Brooke was in the line-out for very different reasons.
Standing on feet.
Getting in the way of anybody he could.
Yeah.
Chris Jack, he was described when he first started as the modern-day Colin Meads.
I think he was. He was the closest to it.
Yep. Another big, rangy Ian Jones-type lock. Ellie Williams and Sam Whitelock. That's who it came down to between those two. And
we're going to surprise some with this, aren't we?
Yeah, I go back to what we talked about with Zinzan Brook and the 5% magic. Ellie Williams was that player who could just do something completely out of the ordinary. Who can forget a try he scored, and we got a penalty like 5 meters out from the line. Ellie Williams happened to be near the ball.
That's right. I remember
picked it up, ran and scored the try, and just everybody on the field, including the referee, got such a shock that they had.
I don't think any other lock in the history of the All Blacks would have thought to have done that.
No.
He thought to have done it, and then he actually did it. You know what I mean? He wasn't the sort of guy. There's a number of guys that would have thought to have done it, and then just said, "No, don't do that." Whereas he was the sort of guy that just he reacted on emotion, and he reacted to what was in front of him. He was very athletic. He was also the sort of guy that early on he got, he had a few deficiencies in his game, and he went away, and off the field as well. And he went away and he sort of fixed them and came back bigger and better, and probably went to places as an All Black that I never thought he was going to go to. I never thought he was going to be one of the greatest locks ever. And he was. I mean, with his longevity, his athleticism, and like you say, the 5% magic. So for that reason, we've chosen Ali Williams over all those other great locks. And there's just so many great locks. I mean, we're not definitely not bagging on those other guys, are we? I mean, no. Wow, some great names there. Shall we go to the props, mate? Let's go to the front row.
Yep. Loose head props: Carl Hoft, Craig Dowd, Tony Woodcock, Ben Franks, Wyatt Crockett, Joe Moody. Wow,
jeez, we've had a few, eh?
What a class there.
They sound like a bunch of cowboy bank robbers when you read those names.
Yeah.
Carl Hoff, Craig Dowd, Tony Woodcock, Ben Franks, Wyatt Crockett, Joe Moody, wanted dead or alive.
Yeah, well, for me, it came down to two. Joe Moody, I think, in today's game, he's a hell of a prop. Great in the open field too with the ball. But I've plunked for Tony Woodcock, the man who scored the
only
All Blacks try in the 2011 Rugby World Cup final.
Well, we definitely wouldn't have won the World Cup final without him.
Right.
You've got to have a North Harbour man in there somewhere, mate. So the man from Silverdale, Tony Woodcock, is our loose head prop. I love that pick. But once again, just so many great. Carl Hoft, just a massive man, so powerful. Craig Dowd, a very versatile player, played with some absolute greats, and he was always there or thereabouts. Ben Franks, just one of the strongest men that perhaps ever pulled on the All Blacks jersey. And Wyatt Crockett, who was just always there or thereabouts as well, wasn't he? So some great loose head props. Let's go to the other side, the tight head props. We haven't actually decided this one. We've had a bit of an argument on this one. We've got Olo Brown, Case Muse, Carl Heyman, Nemia Tialata, and Owen Franks as our nominations.
Yeah, before we get to our final two, which we still haven't gone down to. I think let's talk a bit about Carl Heyman.
Go on.
I think if he'd played probably another 20 tests,
Yeah.
he would have been hands down our pick for tight head prop.
Mm.
Very good prop. Obviously, one of the early departures off to the UK and Europe. There was talk about him coming back at one stage.
I think he was only in his mid-20s, wasn't he, Macca? When he
was very
24, young. 25, which for a prop, I mean, you got your whole career already.
So that's sort of gone against him, I guess, especially when you look at the two that we've come down to, Olo Brown and Owen Franks.
Yeah. Now, we've gone for them for different reasons. I went for Olo Brown because, for me, he was the quintessential guy. You could always back him in the scrum. Obviously, he sort of crossed over from the amateur to the professional era where the scrum isn't probably quite as important. But for me, Olo Brown was just super reliable, never took a backward step, was so hard. And you could eat your dinner off his back, mate, when he was in the scrum. That's what he always used to say, didn't they? And just love me some Olo Brown. So, loved Olo. You went for Owen Franks for slightly different reasons?
Yep, slightly different. To play over 100 tests as a prop in international rugby, I think is just an incredible feat. And we've got two of them, Tony Woodcock and Owen Franks, who both played over 100 tests for the All Blacks. You talked about his brother Ben being one of the strongest men ever on the rugby field. I think there's probably only one person that would be stronger than Ben, and that's probably his brother Owen. You could certainly have a meal off his back. He kept it so straight that it was almost like an aircraft carrier when he bent down for the scrum. Just his sheer strength, very rarely got beaten. One thing I do like as a tight head prop, never scored a test try because he's just stuck in the tight so often. The number of tests where you actually watch the test and then not realise till the end of the game that Owen Franks actually played.
Yeah. It's exactly what you want of a prop. Exactly.
It's a bit like the best referees in the world. You don't see them.
True.
So that's why I've gone for Owen Franks.
And I've gone for Olo Brown. So we'll roll the dice. Either one of them is going to be on the it's going to be our tight head prop, and we'll put the other one in the reserves. We'll sort it out later. We can't decide that one. Both great players. Let's go to our hooker, mate. Sean Fitzpatrick, Anton Oliver, Kevin Mialamu, Dane Coles, Andrew Hoare. We've had some good hookers too, haven't we?
We've had some very good hookers, but two stand out. One, I think, even stands out above him, and that's the Otahu Nugget, Kevin Mialamu. Just the longevity. Another one that never seemed to miss a test through injury, was always there. Career was probably extended a bit longer than Fitzy's because
of reserves and stuff like
that. Reserves come off the bench. He started out being one of those guys as a reserve, coming on for the likes of Anton Oliver.
Yes.
Which probably meant that he did play over 100 tests. But yeah, I just think his durability was just outstanding. Again, we probably only saw the best of Sean Fitzpatrick before the game became professional. And in latter years, he did suffer from a few injuries and probably didn't play as much as he would have liked to. So that's why we've gone for Kevin Mialamu.
We've gone for Kevin Mialamu, the Otahu Nugget, the guy that just kept going. Very, very mobile hooker. When he first started, you would have never, once again, one of those guys you would have never plumped for to be an All Black great. But once he was one of those guys that kept improving and getting better and better and better and better. And he was perhaps better, at the end of his career, a hell of a lot better than when he was like even 10 years before. So, he was one of those guys that was even more valuable as he got older. So Kevin Mialamu, absolutely loved him. Sean Fitzpatrick, absolutely loved Sean Fitzpatrick. I think that they should name a stand after him at Eden Park. He was the captain of the All Blacks when I first, as an adult, really started, watching the All Blacks and sort of understanding the All Blacks and just the way he led them and his durability. I mean, if he had been playing in the professional era, he probably would have played 200 tests. The guy was just an absolute machine, a colossus. He never let anyone take his place, did he? I mean, there were so many guys that sat on the bench as his reserve, and because was in the days before professionalism. He just never let them get on. So many good hookers just never got on the field because of Sean Fitzpatrick. Love the guy. But professional era, we'll go with Kevin Mialamu.
Yes, quite right. And to name the reserves, we named Sean Fitzpatrick as our reserve hooker.
We did.
The reserve tight head prop, well, we've bracketed Olo Brown and Owen Franks, so we have those. Joe Moody, we named as our reserve loose head prop.
Yep.
Sam Whitelock gets the call as our reserve lock, and Kieran Reid is our reserve loose forward.
That is a fairly handy forward pack. I don't think there'll be too many teams in World Rugby getting over the top of those lads, mate.
No, so quite right indeed.
There you go. We'll publish those on our Facebook page as well, won't we?
We will. And just to recap the backs from last week, Aaron Smith, Daniel Carter, Ma Nonu, Conrad Smith, Jonah Lomu, Joe Rokathoko, and Christian Cullen were the backs. Dang. So not a bad back line to score all the tries from the ball provided by the forward pack we've just named.
They'll get a bit of all, mate. They'll get a bit of ball. That's for sure.
Quite right, quite right. Moving on to League. And, Paul Greene has been sacked as Queensland State of Origin coach.
Yeah, can't say I'm too surprised by that, mate. Really, they haven't been going too well, have they? Looks like to me, Billy Slater's got the inside running to be the coach next year. I don't think anyone else is particularly looking for it. I don't think Wayne Bennett will be looking for it. But really, they weren't really that competitive this year, and they have to do something different. I mean, Paul Greene did very well coaching the Cowboys, but hasn't been able to do it at the upper echelon of rugby league. So bad luck for the poor old Queenslanders. Wonder whether they'll ever select a New South Welshman to be coach of the Queensland. Well, they've had a Kiwi before, haven't they? Graham Locke.
Yep.
But of course, the rugby league.
The finals start tonight.
They do, mate. But before we go there, I'll just have a little go on the Warriors season because it ended last week. They saved their worst for last, thrashed 44-0 by the Titans. And the Titans are one of the teams that the Warriors have had the wood on over the years, but it certainly wasn't the case in the weekend. The club has now played just one finals footy game since 2011, which simply just doesn't cut it. Yes, it's been a difficult season. The same team was once again located over the Tasman, initially in New South Wales, into Queensland due to the COVID crisis, but away from families, injuries to key players, losing their best player and leader, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and others, not to mention the inconsistent officiating. And there's been a hell of a lot of that. I haven't talked a lot about it, but we always get the bum rap when it comes to the officiating in the NRL. But the frustrations bubbled up last week, mate, against the Titans. An all-in-blue sparked by Reece Walsh involved Dylan Watini-Zalesnia, Kane Evans, Matt Lodge, and Jazz Tavanga. It saw the Warriors reduced to 10 men for part of the game. And Evans, Lodge, and Tavanga will be all suspended for the opening games of next season. So what a shit way to finish the season. So where to now for the Warriors? Well, finding some leadership will be the key to their hopes for next year, if you ask me. They've lost Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Of course, he was their key leader. And Tohu Harris, I think we missed him over the last 4 weeks, man. He is a leader for sure and a great player as well. So he's a key guy to get back. They've only signed Sean Johnson for next season. That's a little bit of a worry. A couple of key recruits are needed in key positions and some leadership. So for me, a couple of guys that are out of contract. Well, one of them is Tarek Sims from the Dragons. He's out of contract. Doesn't look like they're after him. I like him. He played State of Origin this year. A good forward, and he's a leader. Get him. And English hooker Josh Hodgson. He's been mooted to come across from the Raiders. He's had a bit of an up and down season. Don't know so much about him. For me, I would make a big play for the hectic cheese. I've been saying it for a year, mate. Get the hectic cheese in. Brandon Smith. We've got some money. We've freed up some cash from Roger. Make a big play on Brandon Smith from the Storm. They have Harry Grant as another hooker. They've got basically two international hookers. They don't need them both. We need to get him over. So
the Waiheke wonder.
He is the Waiheke kid. I'd love to have seen him in a Warriors jersey, and let's hope I do before I die. Let's go to the finals preview. Melbourne edged out Penrith to snare the minor premiership on Friday night with their win over the Sharks, while the Sea Eagles clinched fourth spot ahead of the Roosters on Saturday night by beating up the Cowboys in Townsville. The Gold Coast needed to down the Warriors by 11 points. They just did that. And they finished with a better for and against record than Cronulla, and the Titans achieved that in style. So the first week of the finals tonight, big game. That's the Melbourne versus Manly. That's at 7:50 p.m. Sunshine Coast Stadium. Then tomorrow, the elimination final, Sydney Roosters versus the Gold Coast. That's at 5:40 at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. And then that's followed by the qualifying final, which is Penrith versus South Sydney. That'll be a belter, 7:50 p.m. at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. And then on Sunday, we've got the elimination final, Para versus Newcastle. It's at 4:05 at Brown Park in Rockhampton. So those are our finals. I'll give you a little sneak peek. I would suggest Melbourne to beat Manly. I reckon the Sydney Roosters will beat Gold Coast. Penrith will beat South Sydney. And Parramatta to beat Newcastle. There you go. Those are my picks.
Oh, very good indeed. A bit of news out of Warriors camp yesterday.
Yep.
They've secured Redcliffe Stadium as their home stadium for next season.
Yeah, which is good news and could be bad news. Good news, they've got a stadium, that they're in a place which isn't COVID affected, that they'll be sorted out and all that. The bad news is that this is the place that's trying to angle for an NRL team to come in maybe next year or the year after. So the danger here is if COVID lingers for much longer, they're just going to say, well, screw Auckland. We'll just relocate the whole bloody team to Redcliffe and call them the Redcliffe Warriors.
The Redcliffe Warriors, yeah.
And while a lot of people would say that's probably not a bad thing, screw it all up and start again. I mean, I'm a Warriors fan, man. I've been there since day one. I want to keep supporting my team. So, yeah, it's a good thing they've got the ground support. You know, they've got a good ground there. They've got good facilities, all that. Let's just hope that they don't nick the team off us if this COVID stuff continues.
Well, just be glad that you're not an AFL fan growing up in South Melbourne, because South Melbourne was a team there until the 1970s, and they moved the whole franchise to Sydney, and then became the Sydney Swans.
That's right.
And a good friend of mine he's still a South Melbourne fan. Will
really
never support the Sydney Swans.
But he never supports the Sydney Swans.
No, they're a different side, he reckons. So
it's difficult, eh? It's difficult when you support a side and then they relocate.
South Melbourne still playing the VFL, which is the local competition. But yeah, just be glad you're not a South Melbourne fan.
Okay, it's like the Bunnies all those years ago. Remember they got chucked out, but then Russell Crowe came back with his millions and got him back in the team.
North Sydney Bears. I was a North Sydney Bears fan before the Warriors came along.
Yeah, well, I was a Balmain Tigers fan, mate. You know, the Balmain Tigers, the mighty Balmain Tigers. There you go.
The Wiz.
Oh, Gary Freeman. What a player. What a player.
Yes. Anyway, on to a bit of cricket. Dates and venues have been confirmed for the Black Caps. 3 test series against England. A 3-test series.
Wow.
June next year, after the 1-0 series win over the hosts earlier this year. They'll play the matches at Lords, Trent Bridge in Nottingham, and Headingley in Leeds.
Hooray!
Of their first ever win over England in 1983. I remember that game.
So do I.
Vividly. Jerome Kino hit the winning runs off Ian Botham.
That's right.
He said in his book years later that when Ian Botham came on to bowl, the first ball of his session was always a
long hop or a half tracker. Yeah.
So Coney said, I just went straight on the back foot and pulled it for 4, game over.
Nice.
And the
that was the same tour where they called where the press were very well. Let's say less. Yeah, where they called us
second 11.
The what? Guildford second 11. That's right. That's right. And so we all got T-shirts made up.
Yeah. England did go on to win the Test series 3-1. That was we had a 4-test series back then. But that test at Headingley was notable for the fact that the great Sir Richard Hadley, who was our prime strike bowler, probably the top of his form in 1983, in that test, he didn't get a wicket. When we beat them. Lance Cairns got 10 for the match.
Oh, there you go.
Got 7 in the first innings and 3 in the second.
It's a great trivia question.
Chat's got, I think he got 4 or 5 wickets in the second innings.
The Black Caps have never been the same without you in Chatfield. And did you see what Shane Warne's had to say as well?
Mate? I'm not even going to comment on that.
Come on. Shane Warne has agreed has said, tweeted out, congratulations, Virat Kohli, the entire Indian team on another terrific win. What you guys have all achieved together over the last 12 months is absolutely magnificent. Clearly the best test team in the world, and that title is thoroughly deserved too.
Even Michael Vaughan on the
was he even on the
Michael
planet
Vaughan
Earth?
on the back page the other day said India was the best test team in the world.
How can that be the case? We've played them once in the last 12 months. We beat them. It was the final of the test.
I know.
So yeah, anyway, warning, you're a dick.
The largely untried and reserved Black Caps side beaten in the 5-match T20 series in Bangladesh with only 3 or 4 regular players. They moved to Pakistan for T20s and ODIs before heading to the UAE for the T20 World Cup.
Cool. More kids.
Anybody really care?
No.
We will have forgotten about this series,
mate. But to be fair, let's just quickly a bit on the pitch. That pitch is just a dog's breakfast. It's going to be the lowest scoring series, one T20 series of all time. That pitch is just a disgrace. I mean, it was a disgrace on day one. Now they're playing the 5th game on it. I can understand you're making it good, for your team because you got spinners.
Yeah.
But mate, I mean, if there were people there to watch it, they wouldn't be getting much pleasure because it's not a T20s for the batsmen. Come on.
Oh, it is. And India, apparently, according to Warney and Vaughan, are best test team in the world. They take control of the test series against England, now leading the series 2-1. Basically, for England, if Joe Root doesn't score any runs, they're stuffed.
They don't score any runs.
England's only win in the 3rd test. They rolled India for 78.
Yep.
And amassed 438, of which Root scored 121, while the visitors have dismantled them in the 3 other tests, winning 2, and the other test that was drawn, they were on the verge of winning.
So don't you think it's bloody rich that they've just beaten England, who are perhaps ranked 5th or 6th,
the
same team that we beat in a test series over there before we beat India?
In the test that we did beat England with, we put out a B-side.
Yeah, and we killed them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what it takes for the Black Caps to get some credit amongst international pundits, mate. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yep. Oh, I know. Quite right.
So what else is happening in cricket, mate?
Side?
Yep.
Yesterday, big day at the Baseball Hall of Fame was inductions yesterday.
Your man.
Derek Jeter and Rocky's slugger of the 90s and early 2000s, Larry Walker, were inducted. I watched Derek Jeter's speech on YouTube last night, and I loved the way he started it off. He was going through a few people, and he said, "I'd like to thank all the baseball writers, bar the one that didn't vote for me."
He doesn't know who that is, though, does he?
No, nobody does.
Yeah, no one does. I wonder who it was. Someone with a chip on their shoulder.
Comments from a couple of writers who said, the person that didn't vote was the person who thought that if Babe Ruth can't get in with 100% of the votes, neither can Derek Jeter. Which is a bit silly because Mariano Rivera the year before was voted in with 100%.
No, it's stupid. It's just a selfish move, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. But what a great ceremony, and
they honor their players, don't they? They do it so well in baseball. They do it so well.
Baseball, all the sports.
Yeah, but in baseball especially, I don't know. Yeah. Baseball just seems to really treasure their past. They hold it so dearly, and it's almost like even when you go to the most modern stadium, they still have, this is a nod to our history and our past, and I just love that. I think it's so cool. It's something that's really turned me on to the game, and it's a game that I really didn't watch perhaps until the 90s. It wasn't on TV enough, was it?
No.
But understanding the history, watching a couple of documentaries about it, learning about the players, it's just such a great game. It's a great game. I love the baseball. I love the baseball, mate. And yesterday I loved it for other reasons. The Yankees. Tell us about how the Yankees got on yesterday, mate.
They are rubbish.
Brett Gardner.
When we spoke a week ago, they'd just come off a 13-game unbeaten run.
I know.
And they're now on a run of 2-9.
Did you watch that game yesterday?
I did, unfortunately.
Brent Gardner's the only guy that can get you any offense. Hey,
and the pitching, all our pitchers have forgotten how to pitch.
I know. I don't know what's going on.
They're standing up on the mound going, what do I do now?
I know.
It's just this has been the story of the whole Yankees season. They've been so streaky. They've had 3 really good streaks of good wins.
But as soon as you come out of that, you go into a streak of losses.
4 really bad streaks of losses. And it's just, I do not know what's going on.
It's just something you cannot do in the baseball, isn't it? Because if you start badly, you're constantly chasing. You're behind. And from what I was watching yesterday, from listening to the commentators, they were saying that the Yankees' main problem is they can never get ahead in games. They're always chasing. That even in the games they're chasing. And it just seems like they're always trying to come from behind, and you just can't keep doing that.
Yeah. And that's a change from years gone by. The Yankees were always known for scoring early.
Yeah.
I think for about 10 years in a row, up until about 3 years ago, the Yankees had the most first inning runs of any other team. Just constantly. And
the old dog agrees.
I'm at a loss. Absolutely at a loss. And I mean, DJ LeMahieu, who just signed a new 6-year deal at the beginning of the season and was MVP last year, can't hit his way out of a wet paper bag at the moment.
No. But that is baseball as well, isn't it? I mean, it is a streaky game when it comes to hitting, when it comes to pitching, and just slight changes can completely put you off your thing, can't they? It's just, So how are the Kiwis been going anyway, mate?
Oh, I tell you what, some big news for Jason Matthews. He was named MVP for his Great Falls Voyagers team in independent baseball after fighting for a place in the team when he first arrived, coming out of school in North Carolina. Or South Carolina. Matthews has been outstanding for the Voyagers ever since, and with just 3 games left in the season, he's averaging .351 with 100 hits, 19 doubles, 8 triples, 8 home runs, and 65 RBI in 76 games. Just an incredible season for the young man. I mean, he's just continued what he did at his 2 schools. He spent the first 2 years at Southeastern Community College in Iowa. Had over 300 for them in the 2 years he was there. In the 3 years he was at University of South Carolina upstate. And of course he was in the top college competition in Division I of NCAA, the Southeastern Conference, or SEC as it's well known, playing the likes of Virginia Tech, Clemson, big college names. And hitting over 300 in those competitions is just...
So what's the next... How old is he now?
He's 22, 23.
Okay, so what's the next step for someone like him who's obviously killing it at that level? Does he step up a level? And if he does it there, he's got a chance of making the majors?
Well, the thing is, independent ball is basically... we've talked about the minor leagues before, which we've got a couple of Kiwis playing in at the moment. They're all what they call affiliated to major league franchises. So what we would love to see happen would be Jason to be signed by a major league franchise and put in and play his way up through the minor leagues. I mean, the way he's been playing, I don't think he'd stay in the minor leagues for very long. Some of that independent ball has been rated as actually stronger than some of the minor leagues. So, I mean, he's done really well. And when he arrived at the team in Montana, he was there to back up their current shortstop. Within 10 games, he was the shortstop. Just because he hit the ground running and was scoring runs left, right, and centre. So great news, great for him.
That's awesome.
And he's a great story too, coming out of Manurewa in South Auckland. Both his parents, had passed away before he was 12 years old, raised by his sister, started out playing softball, but then moved to baseball when he was 16 years old and hasn't looked back since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what would you say his chances are? I mean, we want to see it, Macca. I mean, I can't wait. What would you say? I mean, obviously things have to go right. There's injury, there's all that sort of thing. But if he keeps performing, he keeps in the next sort of, say, 36 months, what are the chances? What are the chances that he could be picked up?
I think for him to be picked up by a franchise, it's got to happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Basically, once he gets to 25, 26, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But he's going to pick up a contract with an Australian side when the ABL gets up and running again. There's even talk this year of the ABL not happening. The Tuatara have already pulled out because of the COVID situation. Who really knows what's going to happen with that? But yeah, if things get back to normal, obviously, as I say, in the next 2 years, if he can be picked up by a major league franchise, I think he'll absolutely flourish and do really well. So all the very best to Jason. You've
absolutely go, Jason.
We're nothing wrong over the last 5 years.
We're a massive fan here on the Hottie Sports Podcast, Jason. Keep doing your thing, mate. And what about other Kiwis in stateside playing the baseball?
Kyle Gligowski has had a successful return to the pitching mound, throwing in another 2 games this week after over 3 months on the disabled list following a right elbow strain. He's thrown 4 innings in his comeback for the Phillies Florida Complex League rookie side, and he will continue to rehab down in Florida for the remainder of the season, with most of those minor leagues coming to an end this season as they head towards playoffs. Ben Thompson has finished off his season with the Augusta Green Jackets in Low A. He's pitched in 50 innings and 31 games so far with a 3-1 win-loss record and 59 strikeouts. And looks like Elliot Johnston's probably arrived a wee bit too late to play in the rookie league, but he will likely pitch in instructional league, which happens in Florida and Arizona over the next month or so. Awesome. Just having a quick look at the standings. We talked about the Yankees, 2-8 in their last 10 games. They've dropped right away from Tampa Bay. They're 9.5 games behind Tampa. And they're also a half a game behind Boston now.
So they're not even in the wild card slot anymore.
They are in the second wild card spot.
Okay.
Very important game against Toronto today.
Yep.
With Toronto only 1.5 games back in those standings.
Just quickly, mate, on Toronto, what do you make of Vlad Guerrero?
He's just he's gone under the radar because of the likes of Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
He's hit 40 home runs.
I know.
Over 100 RBI. His average is over 300, so it's not like he's just a slugger.
No.
He can hit for average too.
So how long before the Yankees buy him?
Wow. Don't think it'll happen. I don't care. Well, he's
You've
under
got
Toronto
enough sluggers.
control.
Come on.
He's under Toronto control for another 6 years. So.
Well, that's good. Good stuff.
So in the wild card, Boston half a game ahead of the Yankees. So if the regular season stopped today, it would be Yankees versus Boston in Boston. Toronto 1.5 games back. Oakland and Seattle 2.5 games back. And that's pretty much it in the American League wild card situation. Divisional, White Sox have got that sorted, 10.5 games ahead of Cleveland. And Houston have extended their lead over Oakland. They look like taking out the West again.
Yeah,
5.5 games ahead of both Oakland and Seattle.
Although they did have a loss to Seattle the other day.
They did. In the wild card in the National League, it's the Dodgers and the Padres are in the 2 wild card positions. Padres only 1 game ahead of Cincinnati and 3 games ahead of Philadelphia and St. Louis, who have come back into the wild card picture. In the divisional standings, the Atlanta Braves lead the Phillies by 2.5 games. Milwaukee's got the Central wrapped up 12 games ahead of Cincinnati, and just 2.5 games separate the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League West, with the Padres a long way back, but as I mentioned, still in that wild card race.
All right. So that's our baseball.
That is our baseball. Big weekend in America, though. NFL kicks off this weekend. We've got today the Cowboys and the Buccaneers playing this afternoon.
So it's Dak Prescott versus Tom Brady.
Versus Tom Brady.
Ooh.
Yep. So that'll be interesting.
Who have the 49ers got first game?
49ers are away to Detroit.
Yep.
the
Okay.
Melbourne
We should
City
have
playing
a bit of
Melbourne.
them. Yep.
That could be a good game. And what have we got on Sunday night is the Packers and the Saints. That could be a good game.
Yeah. Yep.
And Tuesday afternoon football is the Bears and the Rams.
Nice. Looking forward to the American football kicking off again.
Ravens and the Raiders is Tuesday afternoon.
It's cool.
Yeah. So
Okay.
some big games there. Who's your pick?
Oh God, mate, it's so early.
Get in early.
Okay. Oh, geez. I haven't even thought about this. I'll go the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is headed back there. I saw him interviewed the other day. He looked like a man on a mission to me. And I think that he will win another championship before he retires. So I'm going to go on the Packers. What about you?
Yep. I'm going to surprise a lot of people here and go with the Bills.
Oh, yeah, they were good last year.
They had a good season last
year.
They did. And could go a long way. I mean, you can't
look,
go past the
Kansas City. I mean,
yeah, and the Chiefs.
Yeah,
they're going to be strong as well.
Yeah,
I'd love to see the 49ers get to the playoffs.
Oh, wouldn't it be great? Yeah,
but can't really see it happening. But you never know.
No,
you never know. You're like in the big city. They had a good win over the Raiders in a preseason game.
Are they officially the Las Vegas Raiders now?
They certainly are.
Their brand new stadium.
Yep, playing in the Allegiant Stadium.
That is an amazing stadium. If anyone gets a chance, Google that. My God, it just shows you what you can build if you've got unlimited funds.
The SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles isn't bad either.
Yeah, like that one in Texas as well, the Cowboy Stadium, the one where it opens the back, so just walk out with the biggest video screen. Just phenomenal, the stadiums over in America.
Quite right.
Anyway, before we
do new friends of the show on Facebook, Aidan Hayes and Sekeli Seru.
And we've had a couple more actually. Mike Harrison, Brendan Seidel, Warren Phelan, and Edward Holden.
Excellent. Welcome aboard, folks. Now the hot air best bet of the week.
Go on.
I did allude to it a little earlier in the podcast.
Did you see my one last week?
No, I didn't.
St. George didn't win, but the other guys did. So Brisbane got up. So that was a good one.
Yep.
I noticed that the odds had tumbled by the time the game started, though.
Yeah,
Brisbane were actually favourites by the time, so everyone got on it.
I've got a couple, bit of a double dip this week on the best bet.
Let me get my pen.
I'm saying get on the Manly Sea Eagles at $3 to beat the Melbourne Storm in tonight's first finals games. If the Storm are going to get beaten in the finals, this will be the game that it happens.
Nice.
If they get through this game, I can see the Storm going all the way and winning the comp.
It'll be Storm Panthers final. I mean, that's the final that everyone's
probably. And just a secondary back up to that one. We talked about Tommy Trebojevic.
Yep.
Get on him to score first, second, or third try and a Manly win, and you'll recoup $8.60 for your bet.
Well, I would say that if he's going to score, he'll definitely score. I mean, they're not going to score much more than 3 tries. So that's a great bet, because if he's going to score, it'll probably be one of those tries.
Yes.
The only thing is the Manly part winning. That's the bet those are good odds, Macca. $8. That's good. Chuck it in a multi or something. I like it.
Quite right.
Okay, so just before we go, I've got a good week, bad week, but just before we get there, one last thing. A list of 8 possible team names for the Washington football team have been announced. Have you seen these? Oh my God, there's some doozies here, Macca. I thought I'd have to.
Well, we've had, what did we have earlier on in the year for the baseball? The Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, the Guardians. Okay, so here we go. Possible. This is to replace the Washington Redskins, because Redskins just doesn't cut it in 2022. Here we go. These are the names. These are the official 8 finalists. The Red Hogs. Red Hogs. Red Hog.
Red Hogs.
Like red pigs. Yeah, Red Hogs. The Defenders.
What are they defending?
I don't know. The Defenders. The Washington Armada. The Armada. So they're a bunch of ships. They're very slow at turning around. Now, this next one confuses me, because I'm not really, I suppose it's just the Washington football team. I've got WFT here, Washington Football Team. You reverse that round, the WTF Washington football
I
team.
tell you what, a lot of Washington fans have been saying that for a long
I
time.
reckon. How about this? The Red Wolves. Don't mind that one so much. The Red Wolves. The Presidents. The Brigade. The Washington.
They can't call themselves the Washington Presidents because they're based in Maryland.
The
They're
Washington.
not based in Washington.
I don't know, mate. The Washington Brigade and the Washington Commanders. Seriously, I mean, you'd think they'd come up with a few. Either way, the Washington Redskins will probably have a losing season this year. I think that's probably goes without saying, but there you go.
Yep.
Oh, some terrible names there. Good week, bad week. Good week for Novak Djokovic. Now 26-0 in Grand Slams in 2022. He's 2 wins away from the first calendar year Grand Slam in men's tennis since 1969, since Rocket Rod Laver, exactly. And along with his record equaling 21st major championship overall. So it's a very good week for Novak Djokovic. It could be even better next week for him. Bad week for Colin de Grandhomme, who now has 9 successive single-figure scores in all cricket. He's got 2 wickets in his last 4 tests, 3 of those wins over India, and with the Black Caps employing a 4-pronged pace attack who can all swing the ball, the right conditions, he becomes far less of a factor for the Black Caps. A batsman at number 6 or 7 who can bowl effective spin, the like of the ilk of Russian Ravindra or Mitchell, might be a better way forward. Daryl Mitchell, maybe Jimmy Neesham in the one-dayers. I think they look better bets for Colin de Grandhomme, and he's getting on as well, 36 in a couple of weeks. Colin de Grandhomme, not a good week for him. Hasn't done much.
He's been slowed down by that mullet.
Cut it all off, Colin. You look ridiculous, mate.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I must admit I've never been a huge fan of Colin de Grandhomme in the Test team.
No, I don't think he's a Test cricketer. I've always thought he was he's a flat track bully in Tests. If you got a flat wicket, and you know, because he's an option as a 3rd or 4th seamer, isn't he? Because he just nibbles it around a bit, and so if the pitch is a bit flat, he's quite a good option for that. But really, I just don't think he does enough in either format in either discipline to especially now that he's not scoring any runs. So yeah, that's a bad trot, eh? 11 single figures in all cricket. So bad luck, Colin de Grandhomme. Anyway, so that brings to conclusion.
It does. Another
Hottie
sports podcast in the can.
Number 51. Woo!
Number 51. Roll on number 52.
Beautiful.
In approximately a week's time.
We'll do our best to get that to you next time. Until then, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff.
Quite right. Get on the YouTube channel. Check it out. Also on Spotify. Give yourself a follow and you'll be notified when a new one comes up every week. So that's it from us this week, and it's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him. We'll see you next time.